Welcome to the Legendarium Green Team. I'm your host, Kyptan, and with me today are Hurinfan,
Hi.
Lord Ash,
Simply thrilled to be here.
and Stormrunner.
How's it going?
Today, we have the honor and privilege of covering the first half of Seven Surrenders by Dr. Ada Palmer. This is a series near and dear to my heart. If you haven't listened to any of our prior episodes, it's not your fault. But listen, hear about this 2017 book with us, and if you bug me on Discord, I will give you early copies of the episodes so you can follow along with us.
Hey, Kip, why are the other episodes not out yet?
Because I am terrible, and I moved, and it has ruined my desk, and I hate my new desk.
Oh, you moved. Wow.
Desk. I've never heard someone blame it on their desk.
Oh, you've never heard someone blame a desk? Oh, you haven't worked in an office enough.
Yeah. That's true.
Okay, let's start off with our general impressions of Seven Surrenders as a book. Let's keep it spoiler light here before we dive into spoiler territory. How did you people feel? And the question I want you to start answering is, do you think this should be part of To Like the Lightning?
Yes. The answer to the question is yes. I think we talked about that last time too, though.
We did, but now we have newbies who have read it. And I want to know if they disagree with the author or the publisher.
Yeah, it really absolutely should be part of To Like the Lightning.
Yes.
To Like the Lightning ended off with the most rough separation between these two, and it feels like I picked up the other half of the book right now. It feels like there's no edits made to make this feel like a separate book. It's just the same book, but in 2 volumes.
Yeah, it's very much the Peace Talks Battlegrounds from the Dresden Files situation. For those that have read that. There really isn't a resolution to Like the Lightning. Not a lot of what the book sets up gets resolved in that book. And yeah, it just kind of feels like we got through the first 2 parts and now this is part 3.
Interesting you went to Dresden instead of Lord of the Rings.
The only reason I used that comparison is the question was a little leading in, is it the author or the publisher? And I guess it was the publisher of Lord of the Rings too, but
I mean, Lord of the Rings, they had a legitimate excuse because there was a paper shortage, right?
yeah.
No excuse for this one.
Could they even publish a page that long in the 1940s?
I think that was probably, I think I heard something like that.
I mean, they were publishing pretty big Bibles.
Yeah.
True.
They were?
It's the Bible.
Maybe it was
though.
a specialty thing. I don't know.
The Bible is not something we're allowed to talk about on this episode, though.
We should not feel bound by the church war edicts. The first law.
I got a question. So, Kip, you asked about if we're siding with the author or the publisher. Has Dr. Palmer said anything about the way this book has been split?
She said a few things. She's not super angry about the split or anything.
All right. Most authors usually wouldn't be.
Wasn't her idea, wasn't her intention, but it seemed to be a necessity, and it doesn't seem to have really hurt the book all that much. So
Publishers have reasons for doing what they do, and a lot of it is money driven, and they're the ones that paid for the book.
I think she has said that it has helped more people go into perhaps the stars without knowing what they're doing,
What does that
which
mean?
in her idea is a good idea.
Perhaps the Stars.
Yes.
The fourth
Isn't that
book.
the last book?
Yeah, but the first 3 books are all about the same-ish length, and then the last book is like double.
Oh, gotcha.
Interesting.
Yeah, the first 3 books are not long.
No.
Yeah, these are pretty short books. Pretty densely packed.
Yeah.
Other than that, what was your impression of this first half, which I will say for our listeners goes up through chapter 13 in our read-along?
It's so dripping with drama. I felt like I was watching an episode of The Bachelor, or it felt like reality TV to me for a lot of it, because everyone's just so over the top. Oh, I'm having the biggest emotional crisis of my life right now, just right after another.
Everyone is dramatic. I think a lot of it largely works for me. There's so much going on as far as the world building. Although the scenes have been a little more, I guess To Like Lightning might have been like this. Confined is not quite the right word, but where it's just a few characters, and so kind of each scene is fairly focused to what the characters are doing. Like it's not a ton of sprawl. Like the world is very complex and sprawling, but each scene usually focuses on one particular aspect. Well, besides one type of scene, where there's 6 or 7 particular characters, and that those are more wider in scope. But no, I enjoy it so far.
Okay.
I mean, the drama is clearly a stylistic choice, and I'm mostly reserving judgment still. I think I like this one a little bit less than Two Like the Lightning so far, but I mean, it's not the full book, so I'm not going to make a full judgment. It feels like in Two Like the Lightning, people were generally more composed, and at this point, I guess people are like sleep deprived or just like emotionally exhausted and are just flying off the handle at any given opportunity.
To be fair, things are happening that would be
Like, very quickly.
quickly, that are going to be kind of life changing or world changing, possibly.
Yeah.
I think the settings for the super dramatic events that happened are also very relevant, considering the crazy soap opera stuff has happened mostly in the brothel, and that brothel is quite dramatic and very extra, so the kids say.
Like maybe Mycroft is playing it all up very, very much. I don't know.
That's also a possibility.
With a narrator like this, you can get away with anything. I don't know, it's just Mycroft being Mycroft, I guess.
I mean, I can't believe some of the dialogue, and Mycroft admits they may have judged it up a little bit.
Just a little, yeah.
Just a little. Yeah, I quite like this book. It feels like we get a bunch of resolution, closure, and follow-up of all the things that we were just introduced to into like the Lightning.
The thing I noticed about this book is just how well paced all of the introduction to the world was in the last book. Like, it actually does ease you in really well, especially compared to something like Book of the New Sun, for example.
For sure.
Yeah, one thing and this might point to what maybe not enjoying it quite as much. To your point here in a little bit, we already know a lot about the world, so it's a little less new. So at least for me, part of what I liked so much about the first one was like discovering stuff about the world and learning. Every chapter felt like it was a new kind of revelation, and that helped motivate me to keep reading. That was still the case in this one, but like it's certainly more. All right, you know a lot of the pieces, at least initially, and now all the pieces are going to make more of their moves.
If you had to separate the book into happy and sad things, would you feel like the dial has shifted between Two Like the Lightning and Seven Surrenders? Is it happier or sadder?
It's definitely more serious.
I think it's sadder because we don't have ice cream in this. Or the promise of ice cream.
Okay. That makes me sadder too.
Yeah, those, I'll say the Bridger sections are definitely sadder.
Bridger sections are much sadder.
Yeah.
They're better though.
I love the Bridger parts of the first book.
They're better. I'm still like on Bridger, but we can.
Bridger's such an interesting character.
I'm higher on Bridger. I'm much higher on Bridger. I'm much lower on a lot of the
Awesome.
other characters. My basically, when I see characters just be bad at things, I immediately shift my opinion of them lower, and if they're good at things, then I shift my opinion of them higher.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then let's go into spoiler territory and compose Ash's new 710 list.
So, So the most stark example for me, I think, is Thisbe. Thisbe. Yeah, she's like, she goes on this like whole monologue. I'm a witch. I'm so dangerous. And then Mycroft is like, even I'm scared of Thisbe. Like, and then like immediately her plan fails.
Which she's definitely not a witch, by the way. That's she has some trick, but
She didn't think that Carlisle had a backbone, and I really can't blame her, but
that's just so funny. It's just like, she's just so self-confident, and it's so misplaced.
And she gave away all her tricks.
Gave away her tricks, and she immediately gets caught attempting murder. Sure.
All right, I hear what you're saying, and you're not wrong, but I'm not going to say that their confidence is completely misplaced because she is part of the Senior Week's Booth OS.
In terms of showing and telling, we've been told these people are competent. We have not been shown it.
That is very true.
Yeah,
Really incompetent so far.
We have been shown that Occam is like not on board with Thisbe, though.
We have also been shown that Occam is terrible at security. Like the first book starts out with his like, our security is impenetrable. Not one molecule can get past my door without me knowing about it. And then it's violated like 4 times.
No, not even that. It was violated before the book even began because they didn't even know that Bridger was living there.
Yes, for years. For
Yup.
years. Occam sucks.
Well, the Bosch has weak links, and
Uh-huh.
Thisbe is definitely one of them.
I guess so.
Kato's the big one, but
Maybe it's a Bosch of all weak links, except Eureka.
yeah. Kato being the big one mostly because he's the main trail that Team Investigator follows.
Bill Breaker.
Yeah.
If only he didn't feel suicidal after he killed someone. Oh no.
Oh,
How preventable.
You use the phrase weak link defined as
Security system. Yeah.
He was also on security duty when they found Carlisle inside the car.
I don't think he was on security duty. I think that's just a thing
Just
that
knows
he
something's wrong.
regularly notices,
Yeah.
proving that
okay.
perhaps he is the best security member of the team.
It's definitely not Occam.
Yeah, who was on security duty during that time?
Let's count the security breaches, actually. So there's Bridger, there's the 710 list, there is Sniper
Carlisle?
getting kidnapped, there's
Yeah,
Carlisle getting put in here.
Doesn't Dominic sneak in there?
Dominic just
Dominic
kind of
sneaking in.
forces his way through the
Yeah.
door and then sneaks in.
Yeah.
Are we going to
And
count
then
Are we going to count who?
Jed?
I don't think so. That was like in the middle of a crisis.
Honestly, yes, I'm counting Jed because
okay.
they were told to keep him away from the Bosch mates and they failed spectacularly. They had
Yeah,
Kato
like,
answer the door for
immediately.
Jed.
Yeah.
In this high-tech world, all they did was open the door.
And then there's like the Mitsubishi Honor Guard that betrays them as well.
Yes.
So, like, what is that, 6 or 7?
Quite a bit.
Like, clearly, these
Too
people...
many in 4 days?
Yeah.
Okay. That's all very, very true. But I also would like to maybe cut off a couple of those because one of them literally was somebody trying to put the 710 list so that all of this stuff would be found out. Maybe at a normal time, they only have 4 instead of 6.
Well, so still only a plus 50% infiltration rate.
It's a D. It's a D, not an F.
Normally, they just have to deal with Bridger and Thisbe.
You know how many people break into my apartment on a weekly basis?
No.
0.
No, please tell me.
Yeah, 0.
Yeah, who
'Cause
was
I lock
in your
my door.
apartment?
Unless I guess like Occam. There's people living in this place as well, like all the time. How are they? How are
Just
they not
9.
noticing?
And it's a very big house.
Well, it should be smaller if they're trying to keep things secure.
I don't understand the conflation of the Bosch house and the computers.
Yeah,
I don't understand how those are connected spaces with no real difference between them.
Like the transit computers.
Yes.
Why are the transit commuters not just buried underground?
I mean, they mostly are. I think they almost entirely are.
Okay.
There's just this vast subterranean facility underneath the Bosch house that you can just go down some stairs to.
I guess this goes to a larger point observation. I don't know that I have about the world.
Notably, we never hear about an elevator.
Huh. Yeah, do they just use stairs?
I think it's a piece of technology that Dr. Palmer didn't want to concretize.
Concretize?
Yeah. I mean,
Y'all need
Palmer-
a definition.
she didn't want to concretize any of the technology, right?
No, she didn't.
She's a historian. She's not a scientist.
Can we get a definition on concretize?
Make
To turn
concrete.
something from idea into real, into a specific example.
Get like any of the science behind it.
Yeah.
Okay.
She's very afraid of doing so.
To me, it feels like the security in OS is terrible. But it makes sense because all of the world leaders are terrible at their jobs, except for maybe 2 or 3 of them. I guess I should say 1 or 2, because Faust is just putting all of the administration on his apparatus.
Other
He's not
people.
doing anything, actually.
Yeah, it's his lackeys basically.
So there's Cornell Mason, who seems, I don't know. We don't get actually, we haven't got much of his actual leadership decisions, but he seems mostly competent. And Ando, I guess, is a good within the
Politician or
CEO.
whatever, yeah.
Yeah, he's a
Board
good
member.
corporation guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then everyone else sucks at their job.
How does Briar suck at her job?
The main apparatus of her government has been compromised for
Oh, yeah.
100 years.
She didn't know.
But is that her job?
No,
yes,
that she's a
didn't suspect
hypocrite.
it. Yeah, she's also a hypocrite.
Well, they all kind of have. That's Mycroft's point. Is they're all hypocrites to some degree. Is
I don't think they all are.
Aren't the senseiers under the purview of the cousins?
No, they are
I
not.
don't think so.
I thought they
No.
were.
Nope.
Who were they under the purview under? Of?
A lot of people conflate the cousins and senseiers because Carlisle is both, but they are not.
But isn't
Okay.
Julia also a cousin?
Julia is the head sensair. She is not a cousin.
Yeah.
She's European Union.
I guess
Oh,
they
okay.
all kind of share culpability in the Senseier program being transparently corrupt and terrible.
The head of the senseiers is the Romanovan Senate.
We haven't encountered a single ethical Senseier so far, or Senseier that's trying to actually do the Senseier job.
Correct.
Carlisle is like the
It's a shame too. It's such a cool idea.
Carlisle is like the closest, but like even he's been spying for Kasala for a while.
He's been
Also, that one time
Yeah.
where
Yeah.
he literally told on one of his patients. What are they called?
Parishioners.
Parishioners. Or
Well, which also that word's a
Is what
choice
Carlisle
considering.
says.
Yeah,
which is apparently
No.
just as bad as like a Catholic priest giving up somebody who
For
like,
confession,
confessed to
yeah.
them. Yeah.
And now Carlisle has done it multiple times.
Yeah. And like it didn't take much convincing either.
I did not.
Real quick on the point of the hive leaders, who is the hive leader of Utopia, or do they have one? I would have already asked.
We do not
this,
know.
but-
They're all just like worshiping the statue of Apollo. They haven't elected anyone new yet.
They do their own thing.
So
we do not know, and neither does most of the Terra Ignota universe.
Okay, so then when they talk about like our world leader Cabal, the seventh is just the anonymous.
Yes.
Okay.
Or
Any thoughts to
Madame.
who Anonymous is?
We
No.
definitely have met them, but just because of how I don't know, Mycroft and Palmer seem to talk about them, but
Clearly, it's Cato.
I'd say buy that. But
Like, okay, that allegedly whoever's the anonymous needs to have good deductive skills. So I don't know. I don't know who I'd put in that.
Are you trying to
position.
say Guildbreaker?
Martin Guildbreaker? Yeah. So actually, Martin Guildbreaker and Papadelius are by far the people in this world who are the best at their jobs so far, and unsurprisingly, I like them the most right now.
I do love Papa.
they're also like the only people that aren't. They're like the least corrupt. Is not. They're the least tied up in politically compromised is the phrase that's coming to mind. That's not accurate, but like they're the least tied up in the whole web of stuff between all
Papa
the.
seems pretty uncompromised so far.
No, that's what I mean. Papadelius and Martin seem fairly not compromised. Like
Papadelius is
generally
like-
speaking. Yeah.
He's like a good Javert.
I think even he uses that analogy at some point. Or well, Mycroft. Either he or Mycroft, I think, uses
Mycroft
that
does.
analogy. Yeah,
Mycroft
analogy
does,
at some
yeah.
point.
Mycroft is a fan of Les Mis and gave it to Bridger, which choices, I guess.
You know my favorite what's it called when you realization? When they show you something. It's like a little
Revelation.
revelation, thank you. My favorite revelation in this book is finding out that Apollo's book actually sucks.
Yeah.
That Apollo
maybe,
just
like-
couldn't write.
Yeah.
He was just a terrible writer.
Or was he just
This
operating
supposedly
on a
is,
level
like the most important book ever?
at the most? Yeah.
It's just garbage.
Yeah. It's amazing to me how much of like what's the term for someone who's a genius in many fields at once?
Polymath.
Polymath, yeah. It's amazing to me how many polymaths are in this world, or allegedly are in this world.
Well, it's not amazing to me because to me they've just floated to the top. This is a world in which like extreme mathematical ability is a sport at the Olympics.
Right, and like sets us exist.
Like Vivian Ancelet is a multiple medal winner in like rhetoric and debate at the Olympics.
Very humanist, right? I'm guessing. Well, they're the son. Yeah.
Well, the Olympics are like the
Humanist.
Olympian hive turned into the humanist hive as part of a merger.
Yeah,
And
but
they've like vastly expanded the category of what can be an Olympic event.
which is hilarious. But like in our world, we don't really see polymaths anymore, right? We mostly see people who are extremely specialized in one like sub discipline of a field, and then when it comes to extreme competence, you don't really see people being extremely competent in many things at
Well,
once.
who exactly is competent in multiple things at once? And what are they competent in? Because most of it is just Mycroft.
There's like Mycroft, there's
Look,
like-
Jed doesn't really count, kind of, but Jed.
the Martys were apparently this, right?
The Martys were all subspecialists. Like
Yeah,
one
'cause
of them
I'm-
seemed to be focusing on like Japan. One of them seemed to be focusing on something else. But we don't get a ton about them.
There's the twin that really likes spikes.
The Anonymous seems to be this. Assuming the Anonymous
Yes.
has anything useful to say. Which I'm not actually convinced of.
We haven't seen anything from the Anonymous.
Yeah, there's an argument Dominic is.
Yeah, there's
Well, Dominic's a
Arguably-
philosopher and investigator. Those are his two things.
I think it's
Yeah.
implied that Cato is.
It's implied that Cato is a like broad mad scientist teacher for like elementary school students. And like they need to be able to talk about every aspect of science, at least a little bit. And so
Yeah,
that's different.
Yeah, I don't get the idea that
He's also devising like assassination methods, like
Cato's specialty is
very
murder.
sophisticated. I suppose, yeah, maybe it's like a chemistry biology focus or something.
is Ada Palmer trying to tell us something about Bill Nye?
That he's an inspiration for children and shouldn't be forced into a murder cult.
Yeah,
Sure. Okay, we'll go with that.
and I guess Mycroft is the best example. He's just good at everything except for
Him and Jed. Yeah.
relationships. Yeah, Jed. Yeah, Jed is probably the most egregious example, actually.
Mycroft is good at everything except, notably, Brillism, understanding utopian leadership, and what else can't he do?
Straightforward narrations.
A straightforward narration, self-indulgence.
Gender.
Except we get a great
Sure.
example of self-indulgence from
It's-
Mycroft.
With the Saladin stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
What else can't he do? I think his big thing, though, is that he just doesn't understand Brillism.
Who does? I'm not sure that
Only
Brillis
Brillis.
do because it just sounds ridiculous. Every time I hear about Brillism, I'm just like imagining numbers appearing above people's heads, and those numbers are signs of the zodiac. And then people were like, "You were born on September 22nd, 1987, and therefore you are curious." The Brillists have spoken.
And then the like 10 of them that are hiding in the bushes listening to your conversation are fervently
notes.
taking notes. And
Dude, you just don't get it, man. You don't
and we'll
understand the
be-
Brillists.
Right, and we'll later be quizzed on whether or not they interpreted that interpretation properly.
Sniper seems to be something of a. I mean, Sniper seems to be skilled in many things.
Well, Sniper is a very privileged individual and has gotten a lot of great tutoring.
Uh-huh.
But Sniper's also a pentathlete, so that's
Yeah.
kind of their thing.
I find Sniper very implausible. I think to me, Sniper is the most obnoxious part of the story.
I hate
Wow.
Sniper so much.
Over Carlisle. Wow.
I'm Carlisle's also.
I actually love Kyle.
Carlisle does a lot of interesting things, though. at least.
Carlisle,
Or is
like,
in interesting
It's
scenes.
blown about like a leaf for the right up until Carlisle goes to Papadelius and then continues to get blown around like a leaf.
But that doesn't that make you like wonder like what's going on in its there she I'm just gonna say she in her head.
Not really.
Like every time like I see a scene with Carlisle and she's seemingly just so distraught over what's happening or what's happening to her or what's going on, and then later on we see them interact with somebody else in an entirely different way, seemingly unrelated to what just happened. That might be the most shocking thing. I'm speaking specifically of the Dominic interrogation, then calling Papadelius, and then getting quote controlled by Thisbe. it makes me think like, okay, like Carlisle's playing the long con. They're just pretending to be like this, free and at like a carpet. But they really got something going on behind the scenes.
It's like Carlisle is so impressionable and so influenced by whoever recently talked to her that it's entirely impossible to make her into a useful tool.
Except they still kind of do.
But she's been working with Papa for over a year. And she was being a spy and like recording conversation, and that's how they caught Julia.
Yeah.
Like that actually seemed like actual good work from Carlisle, and Carlisle put in like Julia's words about how proud of Carlisle that she was. I was like,
That's
yeah,
true.
actually, I could see that. That's pretty cool of Carlisle to do that.
But then Julia says like one thing, and then Carlisle goes to another emotional tailspin.
That's Julia's thing.
Well, I don't get. Maybe Kyptan, you could explain this to me. What's the big deal about finding out your mom is Denia and your dad is just some a-hole?
Oh.
Why do they need a gag gene? Like, just like your parents were a-holes, it's fine. Get on with your life. Like, tons of people have bad parents.
I would honestly love to know the answer to this. I don't think I can give my full theories until the end of Perhaps the Stars.
Okay.
Interesting. I mean, it's at least in the moment, it's probably just shock value.
Like, ever since the gag gene's been introduced, I'm like, this is such a stupid idea. The gag gene.
If there's a really public case of, I don't know, like murder, rape, or something, you are tied to that incident of global trauma. That could be really hard on a kid.
Yeah, maybe. What's the point in not telling them their entire life?
Yeah. Like if you're like 30 and like you still don't know like who your parents are.
I've seen someone completely implode their life after finding out their birth parent, and that their birth parent was just like some random person from a state a couple states over, and it was such a like shock to them that they became non-functional for a couple years.
Yeah, that tracks, I think.
And they are like it's very tied up in the whole global politics, world leader cabal situation.
See, that sounds a lot more realistic, that they're just trying to protect people like in power. But that's not how it's told.
That's what I believe happened, but that doesn't explain Carlisle's reaction to it.
It doesn't explain Carl's reaction. It doesn't explain why everyone goes along with it. Like this whole idea, oh, he's got a gag gene. Okay. Must be really bad.
Turns out not that bad.
Nope.
Yeah, to me, the Dominic Julia thing where they're just like, oh, these Senseier sessions are so emotionally traumatizing that they completely remold who you are as a person within one session. And the ones we see, it's like, I don't know, I don't buy it. I really don't. To me, it feels like these are people who read the Socratic dialogues and were like, that's really interesting, that's really cool. I'm gonna turn this up like a factor of 10 or 100, and then just like have the people be so incredulous about their beliefs being questioned that they don't know what to do. Maybe it's just like a societal repression thing, and like not being able to talk about gender or religion just makes people crazy, and then the crazy out.
I think that's part of it.
That not being allowed to talk about gender or religion to anyone who isn't like a close confidant or a senseier really has left everybody pretty vulnerable to Julia and Dominic's style manipulation of both of those.
Yeah, that's kind of how I interpret it. Is like, first of all, Dominic would make a great Sith Lord with how seductive he is, and yeah, that's how I interpret it. Carlisle was so just not ready. He was just so not prepared for Dominic's arguments and questions.
Weren't his arguments the same one that he heard from Julia too, though? It's like, you're a deist and you're a coward because you're a deist.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Julia didn't know about Bridger.
Right. That was the important part.
And Dominic is like, hey, you've got incontrovertible proof of God.
That was actually why I really did enjoy that conversation.
How are you still a deist?
Like, what the hell, man?
There was some good points raised about that.
Very good points, I think.
Was it basically they're spineless? What was the phrase? What like other religion has asked like so less of its adherence?
Of its adherence, yeah.
Yeah.
And promised so much. And it's true. Like, Carlisle has spent their entire life trying to be this non-denominational paragon who can help everyone equally and thinks that everyone is right, no one's wrong. And now they have proof otherwise. Like, no,
Yeah.
you've seen a miracle child. Reevaluate your entire theological basis. Come on, do it now.
Bridger's still the part of the story that like doesn't fit, but like is, and I know it's intentional that it's not explained, and we still don't really know what's going on with him, but like that's the part of the story that
How
like
could it be explained?
feels
Yeah, that's the point. Well, what about Micromegas?
yeah.
He's not been explained.
The who?
Mike,
Micromegas, Jed Mason, a
yes.
tycoon,
Oh,
Tycoon,
yeah.
Zhao Hei Wang,
Jehovah.
Jesus.
the Natian.
I don't think his name is Jesus.
No, that's Bridger, but
The Porphyrogene.
it feels, and I'm sure we will get more of it, but it just feels like Bridger. It feels like whatever's going on with Bridger is disconnected. Is the phrase like surreal in a way that not a lot of the rest of the world is.
Well, who's
Um,
disconnecting him?
Mycroft probably. Well, and the bash. Mycroft in terms of under the reader and understanding what is like actually going on with him. Which I'm sure that this stuff we will get more of, but for now, that's where I'm generally at with him.
Mamadal is the real puppet master. I find Dominic to be very silly. I think Dominic's really silly.
It is silly.
Yeah. I don't know why Jed employs Dominic.
That's a very good question.
Uh,
I don't get it either. I think just childhood friends. That's got to be the only reason. Because from what we've seen of Jed so far, from my understanding of Jed, he's a pretty stand-up guy. That's not Dominic. Dominic is an.
I don't think
like
he says
evil.
friends. He says dog.
Okay, I think that's even worse.
But like Jed is able to like see to the heart of a person, right? And Dominic's like whole thing is like that he wants to ruin Jed. Maybe Jed just has Dominic by just so that Dominic can ruin Jed if Jed ever feels like being ruined. I don't know.
Maybe that's what Jed views as the greatest good that he can do to Dominic, is to allow him to be in a position to ruin him.
That's an interesting supposition. I'm finding Jed kind of obnoxious right now. Probably it's because everyone's like always going on about how great Jed is, and we never see really Jed doing anything great at this point.
I disagree.
I mean-
We've seen him shatter Mycroft's spirit. We've seen him look into the real religion of anybody he looks at. We've seen him be pretty confident in coming into the Senior Weeks with Bosch.
But does this justify the level of adoration? Does this justify what we've been told about Jed so far? I don't think so.
We're only a book and a half. I mean, there's still more to go.
I think those intuitive leaps about the like religion finding is something presented as a fait accompli by the author, but I do think that shows extraordinary abilities.
Yeah, and I think the big one for me is the Mycroft thing when he basically breaks Mycroft. Not in like the same way Dominic was breaking people, but like sees to the heart of him and basically
it's pretty similar, actually.
Yeah, actually, it's true.
He was violent. He is no longer.
Yeah, I think that's enough of a show of competence to, again, the phrase intuitive leap I think is good here because there's a lot of connections that Jed would have to make.
We find out that Mycroft being a servicer was because of Jed.
I hear what you're saying, Ash, but I also think that the faith placed in Jed has been shown to be slightly misplaced. But I think the fact that they do follow Jed's words as not a cipher, but as a truth serum of sorts is also, while we can't exactly rely on that as the reader, the fact that everybody else does believe in it does kind of make me want to believe in it by myself.
But everyone in this world has terrible judgment. So I think that maybe my problem.
Papadelius.
Look, if I were Faust, I would also delegate the entire administrative burden of my hive too. That sounds like a great idea.
Oh man, yeah. So you can just like have fun chats with university students.
Yeah, you're headmaster, not a head of curriculum.
Perhaps the thing that I'm finding it hard to swallow, specifically about this, I think it's a telling versus showing thing again. But this seems to suppose a version of human psychology that's more twistable by single sentences or dialogue than I think is really the case. I think that humans are much less susceptible to having their worldviews rewritten by like single. In Mycroft's case, it was like a
words.
sentence.
Yeah.
But I think humans are much less rational than that. I think that humans' core beliefs of someone are not rewritable that quickly, no matter how it's coming about, basically. I think you need some time to process it. I would buy it if, like, Jed had said this, and, like, had a conversation with Mycroft, and then Mycroft had several hours to digest it, and then was like, oh, that's true. My life has been rewritten by this.
Okay. You are absolutely correct in saying that that's how people actually are. But I think that the way that this book is written, being specifically inspired by like Enlightenment philosophy and the works of people like Voltaire or Diderot or whatever, all this stuff that I've been reading lately, treats people as rational agents in themselves and who actually believed that people could have their, ideas rewritten through logic and all this stuff. So I think in reality, you are absolutely right. But I think in the story and the type of story that Dr. Palmer is writing, it makes sense.
The problem for me is one of verisimilitude in this case. It breaks verisimilitude. I appreciate that that's the intent behind this.
I also think that you don't have full context for Mycroft yet.
That's true.
And like understanding exactly the weak emotional state that he was in when Jed changed him permanently.
I do see what you're saying with the verisimilitude thing, but at least I'm interpreting a lot of this as everything is so stylized in this book that this isn't a good answer, but we are just, at least I just kind of accept that is a thing that can happen in the story just because of how stylized Mycroft's narration is. Or we talked about like a lot of it being over the top and dramatic. It's part of the suspension of disbelief for me of the book. So like I'm okay with it. But I do see what you're saying as far as like it almost feeling a little, I could see it breaking the suspension of disbelief as far as could this one sentence or word actually change someone that much?
I expect I would be more forgiving of this if the themes of the series weren't so political and so based on how humans allegedly are. Like I think the gender stuff is trying to make a point about how humans actually are, right? And then having that contrast with this being how humans probably aren't, or don't seem to be in my view. That causes a bit of tension. This isn't like ruining the book experience for me or anything. I still think it's interesting. It's just when I'm reading these dialogues, I'm having a harder time getting into the mindsets of the characters, or perhaps sympathizing with the characters, besides the ones that are doing just quietly and competently doing the job, like Papadelius.
I think I'm also a lot more forgiving because that's one of my favorite scenes so far in this book. Was when Mycroft got brought before the Seven, and he gets his face shattered, and he's talking about all his plans with Saladin and all what he plans to do, and people are looking past that and giving him what he doesn't want, and it was cool.
His faith gets shattered just by seeing certain people in the same room together.
That's true.
It's not even necessarily what Jed says. Like,
the
Jed just recognizes the change.
There's backroom deals between world leaders?
They seem so comfortable with each other. Why are they touching?
Yeah, why are they having sex with each other? Why is one of them having coercive sex with the other?
Are those two twins?
Robert
Ganymede probably wasn't there, actually.
Why is Ganymede naked? No.
Why is Ganymede anything? Ganymede seems terrible. Ganymede seems terrible.
Ganymede seems terrible, and so does Danae. One of my favorite parts of this book was all of the drama at the end of our section. And what was the guy's name? Bad guy who beat up Danae. Perry.
Casimir Perry.
How dare you get angry at me for sleeping with my brother? Your brother
that's what your brother is for. Everyone sleeps with your brother. That's what your brother is for.
That was pretty funny.
It seems to be true. Also, there's just like terrible test of loyalty that Danae poses.
That is so messed up.
Oh, so messed up.
Yeah.
If I was pregnant with my twin brother's child And you really loved me. You would have loved the child too. It's like, what are you talking about?
But
That
the thing is, it actually works though, because he does show his true colors, and that like she can't trust him. And but yeah, that's so messed up.
Yeah,
that entire just section was like
that was a soap. That was a soap
yeah,
opera.
that was like in my
Yep.
notes. Like it's basically like I was in my notes. I was basically constantly revising. I was like, wait, so he's so and so's kid, or wait, no, he's actually so and so's kid. Wait, is he an incest child? Wait, no, he's actually not. And it's wait, was she raped? No, she was. Like it's.
I got a question. How the hell did Sniper get in there? And second of all, why would they allow Sniper with his cameras there? And why would they allow Sniper with his cameras there in the flesh pit?
Because the flesh pit is like the most open to the public area.
But isn't the
Alright.
brothel itself a secret?
No, the fact that the brothel exists and is a black law zone is public information.
I see. Yeah, Sniper having all these conversations with world leaders with cameras on is crazy.
But it was a cool way to end our section, though, right?
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think chapter 13 is pretty epic.
I hate Sniper so much.
Epic is an interesting word, but it is very engaging.
It's very like, watch what happens next on this Bollywood drama.
It's a parlor scene. It's a classic parlor scene.
They haven't
And-
broken out in song yet, Ash.
How many parlor scenes have defenestrations?
All the good ones.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's true. There's a defenestration. Yeah, that's
Multi-story defenestration. Come on.
because a lot of European history, as I'm sure Dr. Farmer knows, is there's a lot of defenestrations.
2 in Prague.
The second defenestration of Prague, that started the 30 Years War.
Yeah, where would you put this on your defenestration list?
It's a pretty good defenestration, actually.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Yeah.
I thought it was extremely funny that Casimir Perry was allowed to do this, but
I want to go on the record that feral Ganymede is my favorite Ganymede.
I'm so sad that Ganymede isn't dead.
Wow. Okay.
Oh, and do you like Ganymede?
I like Ganymede not as a person, but as a character.
You just wish you could sleep with him.
No. I mean,
I'm
I'd take advantage of the opportunity if it ever presented itself. Sure. It seems like everyone does, and it seems like it's a great time. But I'm not okay with his murder blue eyes.
yeah, I'm with Ash on Ganymede. He basically exists to be the focal point or a focal point of the world leader polycule to be involved in emotional manipulation.
What do you think it says about Madame and the brothel that Ganymede is used for sex and Danae is used for marriage?
I mean, I find Madame to be very irresponsible.
Okay.
Like, intentionally putting spineless, I guess not Ganymede isn't spineless, intentionally putting terrible world leaders in place so they're more easily manipulated is a very dangerous thing to do, and it's currently backfiring.
But is it fun?
Yes.
Girls just want to have fun.
Yeah, it's very fun.
She just wants to cosplay with the world. That's all she wants to do.
And keep the women down.
Men are easier to control.
Yeah, that was an interesting bit. Well, not bit, but about the
Madame isn't the like taking advantage. No, Madame created this.
yeah, the women used to be in lots of more powerful positions, but now are not.
Yep. Now it's just Kosala.
And Madame.
Black Laws don't have government positions. Well, they have Tribune, but that's it.
Uh-huh. As we all know, officially elected positions are the only valid ones. Yeah.
Okay, we have a few questions from Sun Gamer. Shall we hit them up?
Sure.
Yes.
Okay. In your opinion, are the Mardis correct that wars are worse based on the period of peace preceding them?
I don't think that's something we have the data for, basically. Like, yeah, World War I was terrible, but I don't think it necessarily follows that they're bad if you haven't had a war for a while.
I agree. I mean, there's insufficient data here. They give us one data point and expect us to, like, I don't know. And sure, like, World War I was wrong but for those reasons, but, like, any other war before that, like, has that been proven to be true? I don't think
I'm not
so.
a war historian.
I'm skeptical of the Mardis or either.
I am skeptical about how much one of the children could be, but apparently that wasn't enough for Mycroft.
Well, so actually on that point, they're allegedly historians, that are making predictions about the future, which is interesting because historians, basically, in my experience, the ones I respect never want to do that. They always say, okay, yes, there are certain history does not repeat. History does have certain
It rhymes.
Yeah, it sort of rhymes. Yeah, but you
Like Star
can't
Wars.
extrapolate from one position to the other in kind of like in a firm way, like the Martys were doing. There's always too many variables at play.
I thought that the whole point of history was to learn from your mistakes in the past.
Yeah, what lessons are you learning, right?
Well, ideally, how wars change. And they could have just become better warriors. They could have just, been like, okay, here's like our best battle game of like what a world war would look like in the Terra Ignota universe. Let's teach it to everybody.
Yeah, they could have. Well, yeah, war games are very successful. Great predicting conflicts.
Although, so the war games for the war game for this would basically be what sets gain control of the transit system is basically what the war comes down to.
Well, you have that scenario, and then you have the scenario where someone blows up the transit computer so they can't use flying cars to like predator drones strike people.
That's true, and now we're back to like I don't want to date it, but like 21st century war basically, whatever non super technological version.
It still would work because everybody's so spread across the globe, and they're literally like living next to the people they might be in war against.
True.
Yeah.
And everyone can print a rocket launcher in their home.
If there's going to be a war in this universe, it could be like the worst war ever.
Yeah, I did like the not so subtle symbolism of Apollo's griffin cloth, like turning everyone's outfits into military uniforms.
And just removing people that he thought would die.
Going away from Sun Gamer's question, I really like the part where Sniper was explaining why war should be a lot more likely in the worlds they created, precisely because people did choose
Yeah.
their hives, and that someone's a lot more willing to fight for something that they actually chose and they have like real agency and choice in than they are in something that they might have been born into, for example.
I partially agree, but since we don't get basically any like normal people, we don't see why they're choosing these hives. It seems implied that a lot of people, for example, are choosing Masons just because that's what most people are choosing.
Yeah.
And basically nobody works very much. It's extremely rare for people to work very much. So what does it even mean to be part of a hive in most senses? I don't know. I can't really tell.
I mean, that's a fair point. Like, the narrative is concerned with people in power. Like, just literally a chapter title was like the most important people in the world. We don't get that lens of, we'll call it the YA introduction, where the main character must choose their hive. Like, which I think is for the better, mostly.
Well, what language they use is certainly a big one. And that's going to affect who you can talk and interact with.
Yeah, but isn't
they
English
all
still,
speak
like the lingua
common,
franca?
right? Yeah.
Yeah, English is lingua franca. Yeah.
So like that's a non-issue. But the thing is, like, people are just getting inside their own groups, kind of like the internet is now. People just get surrounded by their same ideas, by the same people. But
unlike geographic nations, though, you will see people of other hives and have to interact with them on a much more regular basis.
Yeah. That's what I want to. That's what I want to see and hear in the book. Is like how often and how closely that people from other halves actually interact. Because we've seen like normal people attacking the Utopians. It was just straight up assault. But other than that, we haven't seen much.
Yeah, the only times we've seen normal people, like not people with lots of power, have been either violent demonstrations, like the Brilla students that are basically window dressing for Faust's conversation, and like the people that wanted to like attack Mycroft, and that's basically it, right?
Mob.
Yeah.
Yep. And nameless servicers whose names are not allowed to be included.
Yeah.
Yeah, like we haven't seen
any servicers this book.
That's true.
Yeah, we did. They tried to convince Carlisle to not go to Dominic.
That was the last one, wasn't it?
Wasn't that the very, very start of this one? No?
I thought it was the end of last one. There was like the picnic that they were defending.
Oh, yeah. The end of that one. Yep.
I like the servicers. I want more of them.
Yeah, but yeah, I do think it would be that is a trade-off of having the story focus on such a high level is like we don't get the hey, here's like a random person walking through Paris. What does Paris look like outside of the view of a car, the flying car? Like here's this person walking on the street. This is what the city looks like, and this is what having all the hives mingling together, like a quote unquote like ground level, so to speak, looks like. Like that is something that would be nice to see. We a little bit get that, but
It's not what we get. Mostly because of the choice of Mycroft's narration. He only feels fit to describe the spectacle cities, and that's it.
I also think it's
Yeah.
a consequence of Palmer's inspirations.
Yeah.
Sure. You can't say it's a Mycroft element without saying it's Palmer's inspiration element.
yeah, and it's not something that's like hugely impacting my enjoyment of the series, but I think it would make the world feel, going back to the show versus tell thing, it would make the world feel a little more real and add a little more weight to the world leader cabal scenes.
I would love to know if the Chicago Museum of Science and Industry is actually in Chicago, or if Chicago is like a bomb crater and the Chicago Museum of Science and Industry is like in Baltimore or something. I'd love to know.
Chicago is now an idea.
We
Yeah.
all would like these books to be about twice as long, right? That's what I'm getting
Yeah.
from here.
Exactly.
I think there could be more length in this.
I was saying that unironically. I would love to see like the grunts doing like the normal work.
Like, what does
they're
work
just
even
like
look
regular
like
people.
in this world? What are they
20
doing?
hours.
20 hours
Yeah.
of what?
Jetsons.
Gentle desk work. I don't know.
You ever seen the Jetsons?
Yeah. I mean, so the sets, we have literally 2 people managing the entire transit network for the whole world. How much
Well, it
desk
mostly
work could
runs
there be
itself.
for the rest? Okay. But like they're predicting where people are going and whatnot. So
They're improving it, sure, but they're not like running it per se.
but my point is, in a world where it's like this, how much desk work can there be? What even does desk work mean? Like they all have like perfect 3D printers in their home.
Look, someone's got to make movies.
It's just all like entertainment work. No one actually needs to work at all. It's just government redistribution of funds, basically.
Fashion, food.
Which is interesting because the different hive, there's a literal capitalist hive with the Mitsubishi, where that's like there. I imagine a lot of them are like the
And they require
provocateurs.
people to buy new clothes every season.
Wait, is that like actually?
You call the Mitsubishi the capitalist hive, but the utopians are the ones that are hoarding all the money with their patents.
Oh, that's true.
Look, it's not Utopia's fault that no one else bothers to do science.
It's just
They
not
got-
profitable
they-
enough.
They got a monopoly on science.
Right. The humanists and the pluralists don't care about academia.
Well, they all
Yeah, what-
transfer.
What do the Brillists care about? Like, is it just human body language?
They're mind machine experiments. They want to put people in a computer.
I think they care about like knitting too, right?
So
Is
why
that
aren't
it?
they all just sets?
Yeah.
Because set sets are not putting people into a computer. Set sets are about turning human brains into a computer.
Seems
It
like an
is kind of
intermediary
an.
step.
It seems like actually a pretty important distinction to me. But,
Very important
okay.
distinction.
A big revelation in this book: set sets are basically slaves.
Yeah. Bought and
That's messed
sold.
up. They're just selling people, and some people are fine with this.
Yeah. I think I'm more on the side of sets being unethical.
Yeah.
I agree. I think that set sets are unethical because you take a child and you turn it into exactly the thing that you want. And I think that's an unethical position.
Yeah, you could say you could program them to be happy when they're an adult, and that's just taking away their agency. That's not okay. And then you're literally selling people.
But I'm also not on board with what seems to be like the extremely violent, nurturous tactics on set training Bosches. It does seem like they are also committing murder.
But that kind of murder is fine. I mean, there's murder, right?
Yeah, there's murder, and there's arson, and definitely all three are happening in set sets.
On the topic of murder, and going back to me finding Jed a bit obnoxious, like the point at which Jed like walks into the room and is like, "Oh, you've been doing this the whole time. Humanity truly is irredeemable." And I was like, just pull your head out of your ass. guy. Like seriously. Like not just because like obvious a dozen or a couple dozen of people at the head of the world doing assassinations does not reflect on the entire human race. That's insane that he would make that a leap. But also, he's been doing cover-ups and like shady stuff for all of the governments his entire life.
But not about murder.
Yeah,
not about murder.
Except for he's living in this messed up environment that they raised him in, and he's seemingly complicit in all of it, except for the murders, of course. But just the murders
that he was unable to figure out.
Is Jed the most dramatic person that we've been introduced to in this universe?
No, because we have
not even close. Yeah.
Jed is pretty dramatic, though.
She faints like on purpose. She monitors her body so that she could faint at the right times.
Not just monitors, she keeps herself on like the edge of starvation,
which is fantastic. Yeah,
her and Carlisle are probably in the running for most dramatic.
That's where Carlisle gets it from, I guess.
Not Madame.
Yeah.
Dominic, I think, is the most dramatic, actually.
Yeah, okay, Dominic counts, yeah.
Like, Dominic walks into a house, like, does a twirl, presses a woman up against the wall, says, I could kill you right now, or I could have sex with you if I wanted to. Oh. And then leaves them flustered. Come on.
That is basically what we'll call it, torture scene with Carlisle is.
Yeah. The thing where, like, Mycroft is saying... There were animals initially when he met Dominic.
Oh, did you catch that?
Yeah, the period blood thing. Like, that's really weird.
The specific animals mentioned are the same animals that appear at the entrance to hell in the Inferno.
So over the top.
So clear allegory being made between this and the Divine Comedy, and Carlisle entering a period of theological revision, let's call it.
Revision.
Can we talk about how stupid Mycroft's plan was?
With the Marty? With the Martys?
Just kill them all and make it seem like I'm doing it out of pure evil and bring back evil into the world.
Bring back evil so we can prevent wars. Yeah.
Oh, well, yeah. It's like what?
Like, how does that go?
Man can finally do true self-expression. This is kind of like an artistic statement, bro.
Oh, Mycroft is such an edgelord.
It's so stupid. It's so stupid.
It's one of those convoluted things I think I've ever read.
I don't think it's that convoluted. It's pretty straightforward. It's just
blame Saladin.
Stupid. Yeah, I think Saladin might be the real
stupid and pointlessly edgy. Yeah.
Saladin makes it extra evil because they manipulated Mycroft into doing it, and then Mycroft falling for the whole thing.
Do we know what Hive Mycroft was?
They were minor.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah.
I just I could see the point in maybe trying to stop a war because everybody around you is like, let's start a war, and I'd be like, no, let's not do that. Let's start a war. No, I don't think it's a very good idea. Let's start a war. If you start a war, it might kill all of you. Nah, man.
The thing that I don't totally that doesn't totally track is torturing, and it's not like he killed them. It's this is not. And I guess that was kind of the whole edgelord thing of I'm bringing back human
make
expression.
Them kill me.
Yeah,
I'm gonna make all of humanity a murderer.
Yeah, I guess that's kind of his whole point, but it's a little bit to the stupid element.
Is he a Jesus figure?
Mycroft?
Mycroft,
absolutely.
No,
he's like an antichrist.
True. He's taken all the sins of the world upon himself and trying to save the world by showing them the way that they truly can be and preventing war in that way.
But there's not redemption, right?
Well, we're we're
halfway
through.
Yeah, I think that part is a very much remains to be seen.
Okay, we got another question from Sun Gamer, and I think these two can be conflated. Does the fact that the world seemingly could not stay peaceful without OS make this world less utopian? Is OS justified?
Definitionally, it makes it less utopian, right?
I don't know. Can a utopia exist where a few 5 people die each year in order to preserve it?
I've read Almalos. The answer is no. I felt bad.
No, that it hurt. Hearing saying no, that it does not make the world less utopian.
No, it makes the world, yes, less
Yeah,
utopian.
okay, yeah.
Yes, it makes the world less utopian then.
It undermines the whole project.
I was referring
Okay.
to I was responding to something else.
Okay.
I don't know,
Okay.
but I made myself clear.
Yep.
Yes, it makes it less utopian. It's still utopia though. It's still better than the way we have it now. Also, no, OS is not justified, but I don't want to get into that debate with Ash.
Oh, I'm not in the camp that OS is justified actually.
Really? That's interesting.
I don't think so. Like, I mean, first of all, I'm probably less high on this world than you guys are. The working 20 hours a week thing is nice, I guess. The flying cars is nice. Everything else seems I like raise an eyebrow at.
I'm very much not sold on the Hive system or the Bosch system.
Yeah, that's
I still don't quite understand the Bosch system.
It seems to me like people are just reorganizing their families on a regular basis, and that seems unusual.
I mean, there's nothing preventing people from doing that now, other than people selling.
Yeah, I think that if you have a world with basically infinite energy, you can come up with better systems.
I do like the idea of living with a bunch of friends
Yeah,
and a larger prevalence of polycules.
yeah. I'm in favor of more polycules.
Don't know what that means.
a lot of people that are like in a like sexual romantic situationship. Yeah.
Don't say situationship, but
Relationship. Like that are in a romantic and sexual relationship with multiple people.
Oh, okay.
an intimate relationship with more than two people.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think that this is whatever. We don't need to get into the whole polycule debate, but
Definition.
yeah, definition. Yeah, I'm very skeptical of the idea of abolishing gender or religion as things that you should be not talked about.
Oh, sure.
And we don't see, and we don't see how the regular person is living. So it doesn't feel like utopia to me very much because I haven't seen the utopia. I've just seen a bunch of people running around stressed.
I've seen Chagatai. Chagatai seems like they're living a great life.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's true.
I think the argument could be made that it is only a utopia precisely because OS exists.
OS exists.
They would certainly make that argument. Yeah.
I think it's certainly only this utopia because OS exists.
Okay, people working 20 hours a day. There's no war. People are, they're living their life. They're on top of the technological game. They can go into the world in whatever time. And all this is there precisely because they haven't had wars, which is there because OS has been killing people.
I think that's probably something that's going to be explored in the rest of the series.
I think that OS has certainly enabled this longest ever period of peace. But I don't think that OS can continue going on, resolving every issue, just maintaining this status quo forever, because I don't believe in eternal status quos.
Also because people know about it now, and you kind of need to work that kind of stuff in secret.
I don't know. Maybe there's a big enough pool of people who will commit to be sacrificed that they can still work.
I also find it pretty implausible that OS would be. I guess the thing that Dr. Palmer is asking us to buy is that OS would be effective in the first place. But again, it's something that kind of strains credulity to me. It breaks verisimilitude a bit when you have, for example, Martin gets a Cartesian set to look at the data, and the set immediately tries to kill the exact same person that OS is trying to kill. Having the consequences of these actions be that predictable doesn't make sense to me. And I don't buy that the murders would only ever be oriented towards world peace. And of course, there's the situation where it's like, oh yes, this is done to benefit Mitsubishi, the humanists, and whoever else, I forget.
European Union.
I think there's a strong implication that because all of the Cartesian sets think so identically, they're all okay with the moral calculus of OS. And also, because there's only one Bosch that trains Cartesian sets, they all personally know Sydney and Eureka.
I buy that they know each other, and I buy that they think similarly, but when you get to these, they're not even talking about first order effects or second order effects of these murders. It's like third or fourth order effects or more stemming from one person dying. And I don't buy that you could predict this to that level of certainty, right?
I think that's one of the conceits of the series you have to accept.
Yeah, clearly it's just something you need to buy in, but
the calculation ability of sets are cool to hypothesize about. The series does not go into them, but just through thinking about how the human brain works and how Cartesian sets are described, it seems to me like they do instantaneous, massive parallel processing.
Mhm.
And so the conclusions that they draw are not things that take processing time in order to arrive at. They're just things that are intuitively sensed. And
But
these go back to the beginning where Jed talks to Eureka about meaning and intuitively sensed patterns in numbers.
But geopolitics is an inherently chaotic system, right? Like, and chaotic systems are provably impossible to solve, right?
Absolutely.
Like, there is like no matter how much computation you throw at it, you can't solve this. And I guess the conceit is that the chaotic systems don't exist. Is this a world that's not chaotic? I don't know.
I think
Maybe
the conceit is that
Providence.
human actions are not nearly as chaotic as we think they are.
So I actually believe that, but when you have to factor in everything else, for example, like if you're talking about third or fourth order effects from these deaths, you have to factor in things, I'm sure, like weather patterns or like the temperature in the room at the time that the person receives this news that someone has died, right?
Yeah.
Like all this is going to have effects, and when you have such a long chain of murders, then the likelihood that one of these effects is going to influence the outcome is higher and higher, right? Like I would probably want to see situations where these murders did not pan out, actually backfired, or didn't have the impact that this sets were foreseeing that they would.
I think that the information level that the sets have just two people
Mhm.
is way higher than anything that we've ever had in real life.
It's just hand wave it basically. Don't worry about it, it's fine.
Like psychologists would kill to have the level of data that's available to the transit network computers, let alone the data that's available to the tracker system computers.
That's true. It is a fundamental failure. Sorry, not a failure. It's a fundamental problem in modern psychology. It's just impossible to get good data.
Yep. And so I think that we just have to accept that
Just have to
they
go
can
along with
predict
it.
a resignation based on a distant family member. And maybe that's common. Maybe everyone resigns when a family member dies and like you just spend a couple weeks in mourning. Maybe that's just what 80% of humanity does. We'll never know.
Uh-huh.
What if these sets were created by Bridger? Like he wrote on a piece of paper, I want
I want a
like
world with sets in it and I want it retroactive.
yeah, or like these things can predict the future. Okay, there you go. Magic.
Yeah, I guess I would buy that more.
Okay. All right, there you go.
Okay. Okay.
Speaking of Bridger, I adored the scene where he's preparing to go save Minecraft.
Yeah.
That was
Right.
very cute.
That was one of my
Magic
favorite
wand?
scenes
Check.
in this whole book.
Cloak of invisibility? Check.
Backup
Yeah.
magic wand? Check. Paper? Check. Potions? Check. Scissors? So you can make more potions? Check.
Yeah.
Just their whole checklist. It was so great. And then Bridger actually
Yeah.
comes and finds Mycroft. They're like, hey, what you doing?
Bridger is kitted out, man. I like it. I actually did like that scene with Bridger. Bridger is now one of the characters I like. Congratulations.
Yeah.
The visitation?
Yeah, the visitation was
Yeah.
that was a good scene.
It was. It's like I like it. Bridger has a spine. Congratulations, Bridger.
Related, I think the soldiers meeting Carlisle after Carlisle's meeting with Thisbe. And Carlisle starts talking, what have you done to me? Oh, no. You must be feeling better thinking about metaphysics again. Yes, I'm feeling much better, thank you.
Yeah, I feel that. That's the most relatable thing anyone has said in this series.
The Carlisle barometer.
I do want to go back real quick to the OS, like set stuff. So if the OS, and this will probably be resolved by the end, this question will probably be answered by the rest of this book. But if the OS like goes down because of like Carlisle and giving probable evidence and everyone learning about OS, to what extent is the plot basically going to be over at that point? Because if they take OS down,
Well, there's still the Fallout.
Take down these 9 people, half of which are already in custody.
right? Yes. Well, so that's what I'm like. I'm sure that's what the second half of this book is kind of going to be about. But because the whole thing's about like war, or a lot of the discussion about war and how bad it could be, which is interesting because we haven't like seen.
Then let's go back to Sniper's chapter and Sun
Okay.
Gamer's final question. At this point in the book, why do you think Sniper is trying to kill Jedd Mason? And how much do we believe Sniper's chapter, which is not in the publicly available version of this book?
On the why does she want to kill Jed? Why does it want to kill Jed? Jed's basically like this thing that's keeping up the world order because he has ties to all the world leaders basically in some way, shape, or form. So like I don't know, maybe Sniper wants war, and so no, but Sniper's I don't know. I mean, killing Jed would fracture the whole polycule situation, which would be bad for a lot of people.
I'm guessing in this, at the point at which Sniper is writing this, Jed has consolidated world power under him, but perhaps in a way that similar to how Augustus Caesar did it, where it's like there is these fictions of separation still maintained, and he's like, I've given power back to the people or whatever. But in reality, it's all Jed, and perhaps the world is not willing to operate without Jed. That they need, the people feel like they need that kind of stability provided to them, and because that stability has been torn away from them in a period of evil civil war or extreme civil unrest. And then Sniper's like, the tyrant must be slain, the Sic Semper Tyrannis stuff.
Look, that's why assassins exist, right?
No, Sniper, you're an idiot.
Sniper is a propagandist.
Sniper is a propagandist, yeah.
I don't want to answer this question, so I won't. But
Okay.
on Sniper, it's kidnapping and rape and complicitness in the rape made me very, very uncomfortable. And it was a really good scene, and I hated it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Not
Pretty-
easy to watch Sniper
Also,
get
its
abused
pronouns
like that.
change.
Yep, pretty awful.
Can you call it abuse? They literally, or it really wanted it.
Yeah, you can call it abuse.
I'm pretty
Sniper-
sure I know people that would be into this.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
But with consent, Sniper did not consent to being kidnapped.
Oh.
And
No, I said what I said.
No, Sniper.
well, but that would well, okay.
The consent would ruin it for Sniper.
Exactly.
Because now Sniper can really just be a sex doll. Yeah.
How do you feel about one of the primary characters in this book being a sex doll?
Not the first book I've read. It's fine. Like I said, it made me uncomfortable and I hated it, but it was well done.
Okay.
Related to that scene, this isn't really a question, but like, and I guess maybe Ash is the only person that could like answer this. Is it Dominic and Julia that kidnapped Sniper, or do you think it's Dominic and Julia that kidnapped Sniper, or do you think there's someone else doing that?
I'd buy that as Dominic and Julia. Yeah. I don't know, like physically, that actually snuck into OS.
Yes.
I think like a stray dog could go into OS and nothing would be done about it.
Or
So
sorry,
Dominic.
yeah, like the people that are like Dominic being the person that certainly kidnapped Sniper, but then the person that actually does the other person in the room. Like, is that Julia or is it someone else, you think?
I thought that was explicitly Julia.
Thought it was explicitly Julia. But...
Okay, that's not.
It was never named as Julia. There's plausible deniability in this chapter,
Okay,
as stated by the writer of the chapter.
So
I
it's
Julia.
Julia.
Yeah.
In my opinion, there's no way it's anyone but Dominic and Julia.
Okay, yeah, that was okay. That's what I interpreted it, but I wasn't sure if there were.
I love that chapter.
On that.
And I think that that's the intention of the chapter. But I don't know if that means that it actually was Dominic and Julia, or if anything in that chapter is true, or if it's all a fabrication.
Yeah, I want to ask you about that. Do you have an opinion about that? Because Sniper's like, I only agreed to read this if they never censored me. At the beginning, we find out it's completely censored.
Yeah, I think I agree with the Commissioner General in that this section should not be included in the book. But it is somehow.
Yeah, I'm not sure what it really added.
Well, we learned about Sniper's pronoun change, at least, according to Mycroft, who is the one who's giving everyone pronouns.
And it's gender reveal, which is, yeah.
Isn't it hilarious that this is the one person whose pronouns Mycroft respects?
Yeah.
Hey, Mycroft respects choice, and that's why he's going to call Carlisle a she for a little bit.
Yeah.
Only a woman could act thus.
Mycroft's reasons for gendering continue to get more and more unhinged, and I love him for it.
I mean, wasn't Carlisle dressed up in female clothing in the brothel? It's like a
Probably.
bodice, a cinched bodice.
I think they put female clothing onto Carlisle because you're not allowed to just wear cousin's wrap.
Oh yeah,
You
because it's
you got to have
not
historically
period.
accurate cosplay.
Yeah,
Okay.
Anything else?
Yeah. Anything else, people?
I think that's it for me.
Mm,
Fun book so far.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. yeah, curious to see.
Did
Where
you
it
like the
goes.
spectacle city of Ingolstadt?
I was indifferent. Yeah.
You were indifferent. Okay. You didn't like the jungle gym city? Whatever.
I'm shrugging.
Did you like the
Cool.
revelation that OS killed all their parents?
I
Did we
I
already know
expected it.
that?
Yeah. Oh, I mean, it was implied.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
That's-
was heavily implied,
Well,
but now you know why.
Yeah.
Well, that scene was interesting. So the OS quote unquote reports to Ganymede.
Yes.
Like or about Ganymede and his allies, but like it's Ganymede. It's not.
OS is a humanist organization. They report
All right.
directly to the leaders of the humanists.
Yeah.
If any one of them has enough power.
So and they only execute kills based off of what?
And now the entire European Parliament knows about them.
Now the entire world.
Well, yeah, sorry. Yes. Well, not about OS, right?
Maybe soon. Well, if anybody's watching Sniper and they're watching the Sniper, everyone's watching Sniper.
For some reason. I don't understand that. But
Enough
If you
of the
had-
world watches Sniper that
If you
everyone
had
else
the
kind of has
most
to pay
beautiful
attention.
baby in the world doll that you've had since you were a kid, wouldn't you follow their live stream?
no,
Oh, okay. I guess you're just not human.
I'm not a humanist.
Wouldn't you like follow it when it's major trending or something? I don't know.
Like the whole world's entertainment revolves around one person.
We really don't get any sort of like analog for cable news or anything.
No, yeah, like how are people getting their news? They're actually reading it from newspapers? I don't buy that.
No, that's ridiculous.
No, it's got to be
Yeah.
over the trackers somehow. But does Le Monde just publish daily? Does Black Sakura publish daily? Like, what's going on? I don't think so. Yeah, I think that's about all from this half of the book.
Yeah, we really went over a lot of it, eh? Oh, Faust is a funny voyeur. I find Faust funny.
I like Faust.
Yeah.
Who would you put at the top of your 7-10 lists, everybody, at the moment?
Jed,
Bridger.
Micromegas.
Who would go on my 7-10 list? I mean, I would probably put Papadelius on there.
Mm.
He gets to be the one breaking the news.
Mycroft.
Yeah, Mycroft Canner. Cornell Mason goes on there.
OS. Occam Sneer.
Ooh.
No, Sniper.
Sniper or Jed probably at the top.
Madame.
I'd probably say.
Madame, yeah.
Eureka Weeks booth.
Yeah. That's the one from that batch that I would put on.
Doesn't don't they follow the directions of OS or
Oh.
Sniper?
They follow OS, but they're the ones who pick all of the targets. Occam is not involved in target selection.
And they manage the entire transit system, which is the
Yep.
most important thing for this build up to the war.
I mean, one might argue that the tracker system is more important, but
I mean, they've access to both sets of enemies, right?
what do you mean?
Don't the cars have access to the tracker system?
No, they have access to a limited subset of tracker information.
I mean, who's managing the tracker system then?
Romanova.
Okay. Like
We didn't
whoever's
see
in charge
we
there.
didn't really see Vivian in this book yet.
Not much of him. No.
Speaking of Romanova.
Look, the censor is busy. We've only covered 2 days of this history so far in this book.
Yeah, I mean, he was talked as like, oh, this is one of the most important people in the world. No one really talks about Vivian. Vivian just does Vivian's work. That's okay.
Well, his job is to determine how many senators each hive has, and that like used to be an important thing, and now it's not as important a thing
No,
because
yeah, it seems
other
like
things are happening really fast.
it probably hasn't been important for a while, except for in public perceptions.
As Mycroft says, he just analyzes the data that comes in and tells the world what it is. He doesn't
Yeah.
actually like change much. He's got a few levers he can pull, but it's not enough. Most of it's all reactive.
Yeah,
And he can't stop the Masons from taking over the world.
or the Utopians, or
anyone.
It's just the Masons of the Utopians.
I'll put the leader of the Utopians on my 7-10 list.
The real Anonymous.
Utopian leadership constellation. Who
Okay,
knows?
that's another thing about Anonymous I don't understand. Okay, so Anonymous, when you find out the identity of Anonymous, you become Anonymous. Everybody knows who Anonymous is. Like all the world leaders and like even like regular people know who Anonymous is, right? And
I
then
think
at
like
one
regular
point,
people do.
like I meant like
It's
people in the
if you
brothel.
it's if you figure out, not if you're told.
Okay, I guess it makes sense. But then Mycroft finds out who Anonymous is, and they're not Anonymous.
Well, the previous Anonymous is still alive.
Oh, they have to die first. I see.
Yeah, or
I mean,
they gotta
so-
die or retire.
The Anonymous is like the position of the Anonymous is just like writes an editorial line in a newspaper, right?
Kind of. They've got
Seems
their
like
own
they're-
distribution system, but yes.
Seems like they're very influential though, and people take them very seriously.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't quite understand that.
Much like Ender's Game.
Oh, yeah.
You
But, like-
can't help but make that comparison.
Yeah,
it's just it's right there.
I don't understand how that system could be maintained, though. Like, just because someone can deduce another person's identity online doesn't mean they'll be a persuasive writer.
No, I completely agree. The anonymous system is perhaps the most fragile soap bubble of this utopia.
That's a statement.
Of the many soap bubbles.
Okay. Well, we're going to call it there for Seven Surrenders Part 1. Join us next time when we discuss the entire book and we finally have full context for the first 2 books.
Woo!
Yay.
Then.
Yay, yay. I'll be excited to see your reactions, even just to Chapter 14. Thank you for joining us. We have been the Legendarium Green Team. Thank you, Hurin, Ash, and Stormrunner. Thank you, Jingle Punks, for giving us our intro and outro music. Thank you, Craig, for loaning us this corner of our media empire, and Horizon Brave for getting it all started. Have a good day. May you find Seven Surrenders as fun as I do.
Excellent.